Two sisters, twins, same face, same birthday, standing on a launch pad at first light, and they shake hands on a bet. One climbs into a rocket, flies out to a star so far off it's just a bright speck in the dark, and races all the way back, the whole trip at nearly the speed of light. The other stays home, with the dog. And what they've wagered is this: which of them will be younger when the traveller finally climbs back down that ladder? They've both done the reading, they both know moving clocks run slow. So each is dead certain, shake on it certain, that the other one comes home younger. And on our very last night, I need you to tell me how they can both be right.
They can't both be right. And that's exactly what makes it the perfect puzzle to end a season on. But before you get comfortable, sit with the part that ought to keep you awake. This isn't a riddle where the grown-up answer is a shrug. Well, it's all relative, who's to say? It is not that. When that ladder comes down and the two stand face to face, one of them really is younger. Genuinely. By her own grey hairs, by every clock she owns. There's a true answer to their bet, and getting to it honestly is the whole of tonight.
See, now hold on, because my very first instinct is that you've handed me a trick question, and I'm going to say so out loud before I get suckered into anything. You're asking me to referee a staring contest between two people and time itself, and it has the exact shape of the setups where the only honest verdict is, the question's broken, there's no fair answer. They cruise apart, each one sees the other's clock running slow. You told me that yourself weeks ago, so it's a flawless standoff. Neither one wins.
The referee has called it a draw before the opening bell has even rung. I do love that. It's the honest reflex.
I'm not just calling it, I'm planting a flag on it. Nobody's younger, it's a wash, even money, both walk away. And I suspect you've dragged me up here on the last night specifically to make me say that out loud and then feel clever about it.
And I'm going to take that flag right back off you, gently, over the next hour. Because that flawless standoff of yours is real. It's the honest trap, and very nearly everyone who meets these two sisters walks straight into it and pitches a tent. It looks airtight. It looks like the universe genuinely cannot decide which twin to favor. But it can. There's a crack running right down the middle of that standoff, and you have not spotted it yet. When you do, you won't be able to unsee it.
Then before you go hunting cracks, do me one courtesy first. Lay the whole bet out plain, exactly as they shook on it, every piece of it. I want it on the record clean, so you can't slide something past me halfway through and then turn round and call it obvious.
On the record, then, and as plain as I own the words to make it. There are two sisters. They begin at the same spot, the same age, on the same morning, the same everything. One of them boards a rocket and flies out toward a far star, an enormous distance off, at nearly the speed of light. When she reaches it, she turns the ship around, and she races home, again at nearly the speed of light. The other sister does none of that whatsoever. She stays exactly where she started.
The kettle, the dog, the front step, she never leaves the porch.
The kettle, the dog, the front step, the same view out the same window. Nothing out of the ordinary happens to her at all. And here's the shape that matters. They part at the launch pad, and, one day, they meet again at that very same launch pad. Same beginning, same place. Same ending, same place. It is only the middle of the story that's different between them.
And why so fast? Nearly the speed of light. That's a very particular, very extreme choice. Why not just send her off at some sensible speed and spare all of us the melodrama?
Because at sensible speeds, the effect is still there. It never once switches off. It is just heartbreakingly, invisibly tiny. Fly to the next town and back, and you genuinely do come home a shaved sliver of a heartbeat younger than the fellow who stayed and waited for you. Far, far too little to ever notice, let alone bet your house on.
But crank it up.
But crank it right up, close to the speed limit. That wall we spent the whole of last week walking up to and shoving on, and that same little effect swells and swells until it is measured in years. Whole years of a human life. The two sisters chose a rocket that genuinely, seriously, moves for exactly one reason: to make the bet worth actually having. To make the difference something you could see in a face.
Fine, then let me set the card properly since I'm the referee for the evening. In the near corner, never leaving the launch pad, the home body. In the far corner, out past the horizon, and back at nearly light speed, the traveller. Same weight, same reach, same birthday to the minute. And I am telling you it's a draw before a single punch is thrown.
Set your card exactly like that. I'll change nothing on it. Just keep it where you can see it. Because the referee is about to get schooled on his own scorecard, and I want those odds written down first, in your own hand, where you can't quietly deny them to me later.
All right, the record's clean, and I'll not let you off it. Two sisters. One flies out near light speed and comes back. One stays home with the dog. Both started the very same age. And now you stand them nose to nose at the bottom of that ladder. And I'll tell you, even with a gun to my head, I still say the same thing. Same age, surely. They were born the same minute. They end up in the same spot on the same pad. So where on earth would a difference even come from? Same, surely.
Same, surely. Good. Say it right out loud and plant your flag next to the referee's, because I am going to ask you to remember, at the very end of tonight, exactly how certain you were of that just now. It matters that you felt it.
It's the only sane answer a person can give. A year is a year. Time is time. You do not get to come home a different age than your own identical twin just because you took a long and expensive holiday.
It is the single most reasonable guess in the entire world. It is also wrong. And the particular way in which it is wrong is the loveliest thing this whole season has been quietly, patiently walking us toward. But you haven't earned the right to feel that yet, because first, I owe you the trap. The full thing. The strongest version of it there is, built honestly, with no cheating anywhere in it.
Good, then build it. Because I genuinely cannot see how you break my tie, and I want to feel the floor under me before you go and pull it out. Walk me all the way back into the trap. Show me exactly why the standoff looks so completely airtight.
Then cast your mind all the way back to week 3, the death of Now. Do you remember what we found about two people gliding steadily past one another? Each of them, looking across at the other one's clock, genuinely sees it running slow. Not seems to run slow, runs slow. Really.
I remember it, and I remember hating every second of it. Neither one is the slow one, really. Each looks over at the other and sees the other one dawdling along. You made a whole meal of it. Nobody's lying, nobody's clock is broken, and the two of them still cannot agree ever on whose clock is the one that's dragging.
Nobody is lying, and it is not a trick of the light or a signal delay. It is the genuine article. We were firm on that. And it is dead even. She sees your clock crawl exactly as much as you see hers. Now pour that into our two sisters. As the traveller coasts out toward her star, she looks back home and sees her sister's clock running slow. So she reasons, I'm the one racing along, my sister's the one dawdling. So she's the one who comes home younger.
And the sister at home does the exact same thing in reverse. She watches the rocket pull away, sees the traveller's clock crawling, and she reasons, my sister out there is the one in slow motion, so she is coming home younger than me. Two people, the same evidence in front of them, and flat opposite conclusions.
And, you're about to say it yourself, both of them completely, honestly correct.
Both of them completely correct, which is precisely why I called the whole thing a draw. Honestly, it's like the two of them are stuck at a doorway together, isn't it? Oh, after you? No, after you. Please, I absolutely insist. And neither one will step through, each one bowing the other one ahead, for the rest of time.
Forever frozen at the doorway, each one too polite to go first. That is the picture exactly. Two people so perfectly matched in their courtesy that nothing can ever actually happen. Each sister insisting the other is the younger, each one bowing her ahead through the door, and neither one able to win an argument that's flawlessly mirrored on both sides. It genuinely looks like a sealed room with no way out.
Then let me try to spring the trap myself, because there has to be a contradiction buried in here somewhere. Just tell me straight out, which of the two is really the slow one? Name her for me. One of them has actually got to be the one running slow.
And there is the trap, springing shut on the very hand you reached in with. Really the slow one, right now, this instant, leans its whole word on that little word, now. And gliding apart, the two of them do not share one between them. Ask who's slow right now, and you've asked a question with no single now left to answer it in. It isn't that we can't find out. It's that the question has no hook to hang itself on.
So when I say there's no fact of the matter here, that isn't me being lazy, and I want you to grant me that. That's me taking your own Week 3 lesson dead seriously, and then following it right off the edge of a cliff. Each one sees the other slow. Neither one is wrong. Therefore, the whole question of who is really the younger just dissolves. There's nothing left to answer.
And I want to honor that, because it's the intelligent mistake, not the foolish one. You followed the rule precisely where it seemed to lead. So let me name the temptation right out loud. The one sitting on the table between the two of us. The temptation is to say, it's symmetric, therefore it's a genuine paradox. Therefore nobody is younger, therefore we all go home to bed. That is the shrug. That is the cop-out.
And I'm gathering we are not going to take it.
We are not going to take it. Not on the last night, not on any night. There is an answer. Somebody really, truly is younger. And here, right here, comes the crack in the wall.
Then out with it, because from where I'm sitting, that room has 4 solid walls and no door, and you're about to walk clean through the plaster.
The crack is this, and it is so simple you are going to be cross with me for making you wait for it. The two lives are not mirror images of each other. They only look like mirror images. We have been talking this whole time as though they were. But go back and actually watch what happens to each sister, minute by minute, hour by hour, and the two lives are nothing alike.
Nothing alike how, though? Same launch pad at the start, same launch pad at the finish, both of them twins. What is the difference I keep not seeing?
Watch the sister who stays home. What does her entire trip look like from the inside? She sits. She waits. She is in one single, steady state of motion, from the first morning right through to the last. She never speeds up, never slows down, never turns a corner. As far as her own body is ever concerned, she is simply sitting still the whole time. One smooth, unbroken ride from the handshake to the reunion.
Fine, she's the boring one, we've established that. She waited by the phone and fed the dog. Now, the traveller.
The traveller cannot get home. Think about it. Really think it through. She flies out and out and out toward her star. And if she does nothing at all, she just keeps going. Forever. Straight past the star and off into the dark. And she never comes back. And there's no reunion and no bet to settle. To come home, she has to do something her sister never once does. She has to slow down, come to a stop, and fire her engines the other way, hard, to fling herself back toward home. She has to turn around.
The turnaround. She has to turn around, and her sister never ever does.
She has to turn around, and her sister never does. And here is the thing that cracks the whole standoff wide open. The traveller feels it. When she slows and stops and flings herself back the other way, she is thrown down into her seat, crushed into it, the very way you're shoved back into the cushion when a car floors it, the way your stomach lurches when a train jerks. Her coffee slops over the rim. Loose things fly off the dashboard. Her body knows, without needing a single window to look out of, that something real is being done to it.
And meanwhile, the sister at home?
On that very same afternoon, feels absolutely nothing, sips her tea, the dog snores at her feet. Not so much as a wobble in the cup. The world is perfectly ordinary for her.
Oh, you have got to be kidding me. That's the crack? The whole grand bet, the sealed room, the paradox, the doorway of infinite politeness. The entire thing comes down to which one of them gets carsick.
That is the crack. The whole thing hinges on somebody getting carsick. I did warn you you'd be cross, but do not let the smallness of it fool you for a second. It is not a footnote, it is the whole answer. Because feeling that lurch means something that the referee in you skated right on past. Only one of the two sisters ever changes which way she is moving through the world.
The home twin never switches.
The home twin never switches. One single steady state, start to finish, no corners. The traveller switches, decisively, violently, and she can feel the switch happen in her bones. So the two lives were never mirror images of one another at all. One of them has a corner in it. The other one is a dead straight shot. And that difference, is the asymmetry that was hiding underneath your flawless standoff the entire time.
But wait, walk me back one step, because I want to be certain you're not quietly smuggling something in on me. While she's coasting out, and again while she's coasting home, the symmetry is still real, yes? On those two straight legs, each one still sees the other running slow.
Completely real, on both legs. I am taking nothing back from week 3. On the way out, dead even, each sees the other one dawdle. On the way home, dead even all over again. If the trip were nothing but coasting, no turnaround anywhere in it, then there'd genuinely be no fact of the matter, and your draw would stand up in any court.
Except then they'd never actually meet again to argue about it.
Except then they would never meet again. And that's the whole catch. To have a reunion at all, somebody, somewhere, has to turn around. And it is the turnaround, and only the turnaround, that is different between them. It is the one single moment where the perfect mirror cracks straight down the middle. The one thing that happens to her and never once happens to her sister.
But couldn't the traveller just flip the whole thing round on you? Sit there in her ship and say she never moved an inch. It was the entire universe that lurched past her. The star came to her and home ran away out the back. Why can't she be the one who claims she stayed still?
Because she cannot unslop her coffee. That is the whole of it, and it's wonderfully blunt. The home twin can honestly say nothing was ever done to her. Her tea sat dead level in the cup the entire time. The traveller cannot say that. She was thrown down into her seat, she felt it in her stomach. You can argue about who is moving all day and all night, but you cannot argue your way out of a spilled cup.
So the symmetry was never a lie, it's just incomplete. It's perfectly true for the two straight stretches, and then there is this one violent corner in the middle of her trip that has no partner at all on the home twin side. Nothing on the sisters' whole calendar answers back to that lurch.
Nothing answers to it. That's it, precisely, and you walked there on your own 2 feet. The home twin's whole life, across all those years, is one long, unbroken straight stretch. The traveller's life is a straight stretch out, a hard corner in the middle, and a straight stretch back. same start, same finish, but one of those two journeys has a genuine bend in it that the other one flatly does not have. And that bend, it is going to turn out, is everything.
So the lurch itself is what ages her then. The harder she breaks, the crueler the corner, the more years she loses off the end. Is that the deal I'm looking at?
No, and this one is genuinely worth slowing right down on because it's the easy thing to get wrong. The lurch is not the thing that eats her years. The lurch is the fingerprint. It is how you can tell, past any doubt, which of the two sisters is the one on the bent road. But how many years she loses is set by the whole shape of her journey. How far she went, how fast, how long she was gone, and not one bit by how violently she happened to take the corner. The turnaround points the finger. The trip itself does the arithmetic.
And I want to be careful right here, because there's a version of this I've half overheard somewhere, and I do not want the cheap one. This isn't gravity, is it? You're not about to tell me we suddenly need some whole other, heavier theory wheeled in from the wings to sort the two sisters out?
No, and I'm genuinely glad you frisked me, because that is the exact wrong idea I do not want you carrying home tonight. Everything we're doing lives inside the same flat, ordinary space-time we've had in front of us all season long. The turnaround is nothing more exotic than a clock taking a bent road through that space-time. No gravity, no heavier machinery hauled in from off-stage. This is our own subject, resolving its own last puzzle with its own two hands.
So the whole thing stays inside the world we already built.
The whole thing stays inside the world we already built. That gravity has its own further, deeper story is perfectly true. But it is a story for another day entirely, and we do not need one single scrap of it tonight. The bent road in flat space-time is the entire answer, and it's ours.
All right, then here is what you still owe me, and I'm going to hold you to it. You've told me which sister is the odd one out, the one who turns, the one who feels the lurch. You have not yet told me why that makes her the younger one instead of the older one. Feeling seasick for an afternoon doesn't obviously subtract years off the end of your life.
No, it does not. And if I stopped right here at "she felt a lurch, therefore she's younger," I would have cheated you blind. That's a wave of the hand, not an argument, and you'd be right to throw it back at me. So let's do it properly. And to do it properly, I have to hand you back the single most personal thing we've found together all season. Week 5. Your own wristwatch. Do you remember what we decided your age actually, truly is?
We said that my age is just what my own watch has counted. The proper time, you called it. Not what anybody else's clock says about me from clear across the sky. The actual ticks my own clock ticked, riding along on my own wrist, from one moment of my life to another. My wristwatch time.
Your wristwatch time. That is your true age. Nothing grander than that. Nothing more mystical than that. Just the honest count of your own clock as it rides along with you, from the parting all the way to the reunion. So now hold both sisters in your head that same way. Each one's age, at the moment they finally stand together again, is simply the time her own watch ticked off, between the handshake at the pad and the hug at the pad.
Two watches, two different roads between the exact same two moments.
Two watches, two roads. Same starting point in space-time, the launch pad, that first grey morning. Same ending point in space-time, the same launch pad, the day the two of them reunite. And between those two absolutely fixed points, two completely different paths. The sister who stayed home takes the straight road through space-time. The sister who flew takes the road with the bend in it.
And the reunion, that hug at the foot of the ladder, that's one single moment that two of them are absolutely, unarguably both AT. There's no, well, from her seat they didn't quite manage to meet. They meet. full stop.
They meet, full stop. One event, both of them standing in it, and not one observer anywhere in the whole cosmos disputing that they did. That is exactly what makes it such solid ground to rest the entire answer on. Two roads, leaving from one shared point, arriving at one shared point. Everything in between can stretch and squabble all it likes, but those two endpoints are nailed down flat, for everyone. The question only has an answer because those two nails hold.
And so my whole enormous question, which one is younger, has quietly turned into something completely specific and honest. It is only, which of those two roads racks up the most ticks?
That is the entire question, cleaned right up and set on the table. Which of the two roads racks up more of the traveller's own kind of time? Answer that one thing, and you have settled the whole bet. No shrug, no point of view, no philosophy, just a count of ticks.
And on a map, a plain everyday paper map, I already know exactly which road racks up the most. It's the straight one that's the short one. The bent road is the long way round. Everybody has known that since they were small children. Pull a ruler dead straight between two towns, and that is the shortest line there is, and any detour you take only ever adds miles onto the trip.
Any detour only ever adds miles. On a map, yes. It's burned into you from the time you were tiny. The straight line is the shortest one, the bent line is the longer one, and there are no exceptions to it anywhere. And now, I have to come and collect on the strangest single promise this whole season ever made you. Cast your mind back to week 5 one more time, that odd little thing I actually begged you to hold on to. The strange arithmetic.
The subtraction, the minus sign. You went on and on about it, that when the universe blends space and time together into one honest measurement, it does not just add them up the friendly way a paper map does. There's a minus buried in it, a kind of subtraction. And you actually said the words, hold on to this, because it comes back in the finale to decide which twin ages more. I genuinely thought you were only being theatrical.
I was being theatrical. I was also being completely dead honest. And this, right here, is where it collects. That one strange minus sign turns the entire rule of the map upside down on its head. In space-time, precisely because of that subtraction, it is the straight road, the unbent one, the one with no corner in it, that racks up the most time. And the bent road, the one with the turnaround folded into it, racks up less. It is the exact, perfect opposite of everything the map taught you.
Give me some feel for why, though, without reaching for the mathematics. Why should adding a corner ever cost you time instead of spending it? On a paper map, the detour buys you extra road for your trouble.
Here's the gentlest, honest handle I've got. Picture every one of us as always on the move through space-time. And the more of that motion you pour into rushing across space, the less is left over to tick you forward through time. The stay-home sister spent none of hers on racing through space, so all of it went into time. She ticked off the most. The traveller spent a great deal on the racing, so she had that much less left to tick with. Go fast through space, and you go slow through time. It isn't a punishment, it's a budget.
Say that again for me. Slowly, because every instinct in my body wants to hear it the map way, and you are telling me it comes out the other way round entirely.
It comes out the other way round entirely, and you are going to have to hold it hard against the grain of everything a map ever drilled into you. On the ground, straight is the shortest. In space-time, where the very thing you are measuring along the length of the road is time itself, straight is the longest, the most time of any path. So the sister on the straight road, the one who stayed home and never turned a corner, her watch ticks off the most.
And the traveller on the bent road.
The traveller on the bent road ticks off less. Fewer ticks. The bend cost her, and it cost her not in miles, but in time. In lived time. Her own honest hours, and fewer of them, purely and simply because she took the one road that had a corner in it.
So the traveller, the sister who went everywhere, who actually saw that star up close with her own eyes, who comes back with all the photographs and all the stories, she is the one who ends up having lived less.
She is. There's the real sting of the whole thing, and I'll not dress it up prettier than it is. The homebody who never once left the launch pad, who fed the dog and watched the same sunsets out the same kitchen window for years, she is the one who lived more. And the adventurer who crossed half of the visible sky and came all the way back comes down that ladder having lived fewer years than her stay-at-home twin. The universe, it turns out, does not hand out bonus miles for the frequent flyer.
That is genuinely deeply insulting when you lay it out. She does the brave thing, the enormous thing, the thing that took real nerve. And her reward is that she gets shortchanged on her own one life. The sister who sat on the porch the entire time wins the extra years.
The sister who sat on the porch wins the extra years. And now, say it back to me the way it truly, actually is, because this is the sentence the whole night has been climbing the hill toward. When the traveller steps down off that ladder at last.
She is younger, actually younger, measurably, in the flesh, younger than her twin. Not younger from her own point of view, not younger if you happen to ask the right person about it. Her sister standing there has more grey in her hair, more lines around the eyes, more birthdays stacked up behind her. And every single person who looks at the two of them side by side agrees on it completely. The traveller is the younger one. Full stop.
Full stop. Her watch really did count fewer ticks. Not seem to, not, in a manner of speaking, it did. She genuinely lived fewer hours between the parting and the reunion than her sister did. It is not an illusion. It is not a matter of perspective. It is not some filing error that comes out even in the wash. It is the plain, agreed-upon, physical truth of the reunion. She is younger because she lived less. And I'll let that just sit there for a second. It has earned the silence.
Then give me the silence, because it really is a lot to take in. All right, I have to go and poke at it though, because said out loud it sounds like the front door to every crackpot idea I have ever heard in my life. If she comes home younger, did she just time travel? Straight into the future? Hop in a rocket and skip clean ahead of everyone she left behind?
In the only honest sense those words have got. Yes, and let me say it slowly so you don't carry the crackpot version of it home under your coat. She comes back to a world that has aged more than she has. Her sister is older, the dog is long since gone, the whole calendar has run on much further than her own body has. So yes, in a completely real, entirely unmagical way, she has arrived in the future. But hear precisely what it is, and what it is not. She did it by living less, not by cheating a single thing. She did not skip over the years, she simply had fewer of her very own, and she can never, ever run it back the other way. There is no ladder leading down into her own past. She stepped forward at the flat cost of some of her own life, and that particular door only ever opens the one direction.
So it is decidedly not cheating death. She did not win herself a stack of free years off the top.
She got fewer years, not more. You have the ledger exactly, perfectly right. Nobody ever outran the Reaper by booking a long enough flight. Whatever she gains in arriving later than everyone, she pays for right down to the hour in having lived less along the way there. It is honest all the way to the bottom. There is no free lunch hiding under the seat of that rocket. There never once is, anywhere in this whole subject. The books always balance in the end.
Then let me chase down the thing that's genuinely been nagging at me underneath all of this. If she really is the younger one, if that's the settled agreed fact, then what happened to my draw? What happened to each one sees the other slow? Because that was true. You said it stays true. So how does a whole great pile of true, perfectly symmetric slowing down turn into one sister flatly, unarguably younger than the other? Where exactly did my tie actually break?
That is the finest question you've asked all night. And it's the doorway to the single biggest idea in the whole season. So let's go slowly. All that bickering while they were apart. She sees my clock slow, I see hers slow. Every word of it was true. But look at what kind of thing it was. It was talk about how each sister, from her own moving seat, was slicing the world into a bit of time and a bit of space. It was frame talk, honestly true from each side, but tied, always, to a point of view.
Frame talk, the stuff that leans on who's moving, whose clock looks slow, whose ruler comes up short, the shrinking rulers from week 4, the arguments about now from week 3, all the stretchy stuff.
All the stretchy stuff. The elastic stuff. The very stuff this whole season took its name from. And here is the quiet miracle at the center of it. All that frame talk, all that mutual, you're the slow one, no, you're the slow one, reconciles. Perfectly. The very instant the two of them come back together, every account squares up with every other account, right down to the last single tick. There is no leftover contradiction hiding anywhere in the books.
And the turnaround is where that squaring up actually happens.
The turnaround is exactly where the traveller's books get rewritten, where her own running tally of who's the older one back home swings, and swings hard, precisely because she is the one who changed seats halfway through the journey. Her sister's tally never lurches like that, because her sister never changes seats, not once. So by the time the two of them actually hug at the pad, all of the arithmetic on both sides agrees. Nobody is left standing there holding a contradiction.
So the disagreement was never a disagreement about reality at all. It was a disagreement about bookkeeping. About how each of them, from her own chair, happened to split the one world up into time and space. Like those surveyors of yours, weeks and weeks back, squabbling over which way was north.
Just exactly like the surveyors. Two map makers holding their compasses turned a little way from each other will write down a different how far north for the very same church steeple. And they are both of them right, and they are not really fighting at all, because underneath the squabble they agree, to the last hair, on the one thing that actually matters. The true straight-line distance to that steeple. The twins are that same story, only told in time instead of in miles. They squabble endlessly over the frame talk. They never once disagree about what's real underneath it.
And what is real underneath it? Say it flat out for me.
Two things. And they're the two things this whole season has been sharpening toward. First, the time each sister actually lived. Her own wristwatch count. Her proper time. The honest physical number of her own hours. And second, the reunion itself. That one moment where the two of them stand together again at the foot of the ladder. Every observer in the entire universe, however fast they're moving, however they carve up their own now, agrees on those two. Agrees the traveller's watch read less. Agrees they met. Those don't stretch. Those don't lean on anybody's seat. Those are the invariants.
And the traveller herself signs off on all this? She doesn't step down off the ladder and cry foul. I felt every single day of that trip, I am not younger. You've cheated me somewhere.
She signs off on it completely. She felt every day of her own trip, yes, and there were simply fewer of them to feel. Her own watch told her so, the whole way out and the whole way back. She isn't robbed of days she lived. She just lived fewer of them than her sister did, and she knows it right down in her own bones. Everyone at that reunion signs the very same certificate. That is what an invariant is, the one line on the page that nobody, not even the sister who lost the bet, can argue with.
The invariance. The one thing that will not stretch. That's the exact phrase you used back in week 5 for the interval. The one bit of rock under all the quicksand.
The one bit of rock under all the quicksand. And this is the sentence I've saved for the very last night, so let me lay it down whole. Everything you spent this season being scandalized by, whose clock runs slow, whose ruler shrinks, whose now comes first, all of it was real, but relative. True from a seat, and only from a seat. The invariance, though, the interval, the time each of you truly lives, the events where your lives genuinely touch, those are what every last observer agrees on. And that is what relativity was secretly about the entire time.
Now that is a real twist, because the whole word is relativity. The entire season, everything is relative, nothing's nailed down anywhere. And you are standing there telling me that the secret heart of the thing is the flat opposite of that.
The flat opposite, the best-kept secret in the whole name. It sounds like a doctrine that everything's up for grabs. People hear it that way constantly. Oh, it's all relative, who's to say? That is the one lesson it does not teach. What it teaches is this. Yes, an enormous amount of what you took for solid, time, length, now itself, turns out to lean entirely on how you're moving. So then go and find the things that don't. Hunt down the quantities every observer agrees on, however fast they're flying, and those are the real ones.
So relativity is not the discovery that nothing is fixed.
Relativity is not the discovery that nothing is fixed. It is the discovery of what is fixed. That is Einstein's true gift to us, not everything wobbles, which is the bumper sticker version, but here is precisely, exactly what does not wobble, no matter who is doing the looking. He did not abandon us in the quicksand. He reached down and handed us the one solid beam running underneath the whole of it.
So the entire point of learning that everything wobbles was, in the end, to teach me what doesn't. You spent 8 full weeks pulling the floor out from under my feet, one board at a time, so that I would finally look down and find the one beam that had been holding me up the whole way along.
That is the shape of the whole season, caught in a single breath, and you said it, not me. And here is where it comes all the way home to the two sisters, and stops being a lovely abstraction. When you ask, which sister is younger, you are not asking a wobbly frame talk question. You are asking about her proper time, which is an invariant, the realist number she owns. That is precisely why it has a definite answer, while whose clock looks slow never ever will. One of them is bookkeeping, the other one is bedrock.
And that is why my draw was wrong all along. I answered a bedrock question with frame talk. I stared at all the mutual slowing down, the elastic stretchy stuff, and I announced there was no fact of the matter. But the bet was never once asking me about the elastic stuff. It was asking whose watch really, truly counted fewer ticks. And that has an answer.
It was always going to have an answer. And now, at last, you can feel why. Not because the universe reached in and took a side, but because you are finally asking it the one kind of question it answers the same way for absolutely everybody, everywhere, at every speed. The traveller lived less. All agree. Bet settled, and settled honestly. No shrug, no trick, no who's to say. Somebody is to say. The invariants are to say.
I want to just sit inside that for a moment, because it's plainly bigger than the two sisters, isn't it? It's the thing the whole season was actually for, underneath all the rockets and rulers.
It is the thing the whole season was for, and since it is the last night, And since you have honestly earned it, let me do the one single thing I have refused to do for you across 8 straight weeks. Let me pull the whole thread through. Just once, not week by dutiful week, just the shape of the arc, from the very start to right here.
Do it. I have waited all season long for you to finally admit there even was a single thread. You kept swearing up and down that every week was its own strange, separate little island.
They were never islands, not one of them. It was one thread the whole way, and it started with the most innocent question that anyone has ever asked. Week 1. Light has one speed, one single, definite speed, baked right into the fabric of empty space itself. And you, very sensibly, asked the only sane follow-up there was. One speed, relative to what? Fast compared to what, exactly? That is all it was, a completely reasonable question, and the universe flatly, stubbornly refused to answer it because the only honest answer was relative to nothing at all. The same for everyone alive.
And that one little refusal, that single hairline crack, is where every bit of the rest of it came pouring straight out.
Every bit of it, out of that one crack. Take that stubborn little fact seriously. Light's one speed, the same for everyone, and you cannot keep the old world in one piece. Now dies. 2 people stop agreeing what happens together. Rulers shrink along the way they travel. Space and time fuse into one fabric, with its cone marking off what can ever touch what. A speed limit gets stitched into the world that nothing can cross. Mass turns out to be energy, only asleep. And tonight, the 2 sisters, aging apart. Every last one of those, out of one question, about one speed.
Everything I walked in thinking was rigid turned out, in your hands, to stretch. Time, distance, whose now was whose. Even mass itself. Every solid thing I carried up here in week 1, you pulled on it, and it gave.
Every rigid thing turned out to be elastic. That's exactly why I named the season what I did. The whole universe, far stretchier than you ever dreamed. Whatever old, absolute, universal time Newton handed everybody, one clock for the entire cosmos, one shared now sweeping us all along. Gone. Quietly gone. And yet, it is not stretchy all the way down. Underneath all that give sits a small, hard core that never budges, not for anyone. Light's one speed. The interval, the order of cause and effect, and the time each of us actually lives.
The elastic universe, resting the whole time on a core that isn't elastic at all.
Resting the whole time on a core that isn't elastic at all. That was the secret running underneath the entire way. Everything stretches, except the things that are truly real.
And that word, invariant. I'd have called it the single dullest word in the whole book back in week 1. A thing that doesn't change. Who on earth signs up for a season about the things that don't change?
And yet that dull little word turned out to be the whole treasure lying at the bottom of the chest. Everybody comes to this subject for the fireworks, the shrinking, the slowing, the, oh, it's all relative. Nobody warns you that the fireworks were only ever there to light your way to the one still thing standing in the middle of the field. The wonder was never in what stretched. It was hiding, patiently, the whole time, in what flatly refused to.
And that's it. That's the season, isn't it? Right there. That's the ground we've been walking steadily toward since the first cold morning I climbed up here, cross and certain. I came in thinking relativity had to mean everything's just a matter of opinion, sort it out yourself. And I'm walking back out understanding it means very nearly the opposite of that. Find the thing that everyone in the universe agrees on, and you have found what's real.
You have walked the whole road. That is the finish. That is exactly it. And I'll be honest with you, there is a thing that happens on a last night that never happens on any of the others. I don't get to say, and next time we'll see. So let me use that space instead to point out at where the road goes on from here. Because it does go on. Just not next week. And not inside this season.
I felt that hanging over the whole evening, that there is no next time waiting at the bottom of this one. So where does it go then? Give me the horizon, even if the two of us aren't the ones walking it tonight.
All season long, we have quietly treated matter as simply given. Little things, bits of stuff that carry some mass and some energy about with them. And we've been busy the whole time learning how their clocks and their rulers and their very lives behave when you set them moving. But we never once stopped to ask the childish, enormous question sitting right underneath the whole enterprise. What are they? These little things that carry the mass and the energy, what are they actually made of? What is inside them?
Inside the atom, you mean?
Inside the atom. Next season, we stop taking the little things for granted and we crack them open. The whole world down inside matter, where the rules turn stranger and lovelier still. And here is the thread it reaches back and grabs straight out of our hands. Remember last week, right there at the very end? Energy freezing into matter. Matter dissolving back into light. We only caught the barest glimpse of it. Down in that world, that trade, energy into stuff, stuff into energy, is going on constantly, and it turns out to be the whole game.
So we spent an entire season learning that matter bends time and space around itself. And next we go and find out that matter was never even the solid little thing we assumed it was to begin with. It was always something more like frozen energy, just waiting for its chance to melt.
Waiting for its chance to melt. That is a lovely way in, and I'll spoil no more of it than that. It is a tease, not a lesson. It deserves its own first night, whenever that night finally comes. Just carry the shape of it down the hill with you. The stuff that you yourself are made of is not the bottom floor of anything. There is a whole country lying underneath it. But that is a door for another season entirely to swing open.
Then I think it's time for the other thing. The thing the two of us have both been circling all night without landing on. There's no cliffhanger to leave me hanging on this time, is there? This is the one where you don't send me back down the hill hungry.
This is the one where I do not send you off hungry. No door left unturned, no wait and see. For 8 straight weeks, I've slipped you a fresh puzzle at the end, switched off the light, and left you to stew. Tonight I've kept nothing back. You've got the whole shape of it, from one innocent question about the speed of light, down to 2 sisters aging apart on a launch pad, and the small, hard core of real things holding up the rest. There is no more cliff, just the two of us, and the thing itself finally said all the way through.
Then let me say the thing that's been sitting in my chest since about week 3. Thank you. I came in dead certain the world was solid under my boots, that time was one river we were all floating down together, that a year was a year for anyone alive, and you took that apart so gently I hardly let the ground go. And then, tonight, you handed it back. A truer ground, one that actually holds a person's weight. I won't pretend I've got every corner of it squared away, but I understand the shape now. Everything stretches, except the things that are real.
Then it did the one thing it was ever for. And let me hand you the very last piece of it, the piece that isn't about rockets or far stars or engines at all. It's about you. Strip away everything in this whole season that stretches. Take away the arguable now. Take away the shrinking rulers. Take away the clocks that lean on whoever's watching. Take away every last elastic thing there is. And what's left standing, the one single thing that nobody in the entire universe can ever argue you out of, the realest number you will ever carry,
Is the time I actually live.
is the time you actually live. Your own honest hours ticked off along your own path, and not what anybody's clock says about you from clear across the sky. Yours. That is the invariant that is you. Everything else, every last bit of it, was only ever weather.
The time I actually live, not measured against anyone else at all, just mine.
Just yours. And that's no small thing to walk away with on the last night of a long season. The two sisters taught us the whole lesson, didn't they? One flew everywhere there was to fly, and one stayed home on the porch. And the universe did not care which was braver or which saw more sky. It only ever kept one honest count, the hours each of them truly lived. So go and spend yours well. They're the realest thing you'll ever own, and they only run the one way. Thank you for climbing all this way with me. It's a poorer sky without a soul to point it out to.
8 weeks, 8 cold walks up here to see you, most of them with me still cross about something you'd said the week before and left me to chew on. I don't think I ever once told you, to your face, that I looked forward to them. I did, every single one.
I knew. A person doesn't argue that hard with a thing he isn't secretly glad he came all this way for. That was the whole joy of it, honestly. You never once let me off with a slogan. You made me earn every floor the two of us ever stood on together. And that is the finest company a long climb can possibly have. Someone who simply will not take because I said so for an answer right up to the very last night of it.
Thank you for all of it, for pulling the floor out from under me and then, at the very end, for the truer one underneath. I think I'll be seeing those two sisters at the foot of that ladder for the rest of my life. One younger, both finally home, and neither cheated out of a single honest hour she lived. And when I look up now at all that stretching, elastic sky, I'll know what to hunt for. The one thing up there that does not move. Because that's where you taught me the real always hides. Good night, my friend, and thank you for the whole long, elastic, unbudging universe, every last invariant of it.